Hey, Devin. It's all fun, right?
Yeah, that's, if they do all the yellow, that's.
I just changed it today. I tried to reduce stuff. Pass those around. But I will be talking on it. Yeah. I just changed my password today. I don't know what I changed it to. Yeah. You're on the meeting.
5 o'clock. Let's get things started. Call the meeting in order. Jim, did you have something you wanted to go over first?
I did email to the council and department heads, a list of the items, and it's got handed out too. Just kind of an overview of what we've done. I know a question had come up. The mayor asked, what about the original sheet had a reduction to funding for Keokuk Economic Development Corp. And Lee County Economic Development. I think one of them was 5,000, the other was 3,500. Lee County Economic Development was a $3,500 reduction. Those were both being funded out of the Economic Development Fund. And one of the first motions that you did approve was accepting, during the budget discussions, was to accept the budgets for all funds except the general fund as presented outside of Brian's Bobcat purchase. So that would have been covered with that for those who lost track of those two items. But otherwise, as we've gone through the budget meetings and talked about different things to cut, the ones that the council has voted on are, we had initially a $1,686,000 deficit. The ones that the council has voted on to cut from the budget are just below there, beginning with the planning department on down. They're not highlighted. The highlighted ones are somewhat that I have added. Now, with one caveat, the eliminating the river museum funding, the council did vote on that. The last sheet that we had last week said $24,500. I wanted to highlight this. There's a revenue offset there. We collect about $5,000 in donations a year. So the true cost of that museum is $19,500. So I just wanted to note that we're not, by closing that, you're not getting the full $24,500 in savings. It's only $19,500. So there was like a $140,000 gap after the last meeting. And I know that we were kind of going through different items, trying to figure out how to get that last part covered. And I wanted to at least present you a path to trying to get there. not that it's what you need to choose, but it's kind of based off of some of the discussions and then some of the stuff that's come from within departments, and then just some changes that I've made too. The council, I mean, one of the proposals that's down below was to forego raises for non-union personnel. It was noted that it would be a savings of about, what, 73,000. One of the motions that was made and did not get a second was a consideration on only half of that. So reducing the pay increase for the non-union personnel to 2%, so they'd still receive a 2% raise. Given that there's a couple of positions that have already been eliminated from the budget, the true savings that would have, if that was to be done, would be $32,800. Going through the attorney line item, I think that we can get a $60,000 savings. Now, that's going to require some changes as we move forward. We talked a little bit about attorneys last time. We have a base arrangement for with James Dennis here for $4,500 a month, and then he performs our court work for us as well on top of that. Well, at some point here in the near future, he's not going to want to do any more court work anyway. So this relationship is likely to be changing as we move forward, and we're going to have to figure out a way to cover court cases. But it's one, as we looked at what we have room to do, I think that we can come up with a way to make this work with 60,000 less budgeted in that category. One of the items that was on the bottom for consideration, we didn't really talk about, was eliminating fireworks. If that's going to continue to have it be done in some other way where another group takes that over, or it gets coordinated with another group. It came up internally from staff to look at eliminating. One of the things that we provide at Rand Park, we have volunteer groups who maintain the flower beds out there. We provide the flower seeds for those flower beds. Traditionally, it costs about $4,000 to provide those initial seeds for what the groups do. Plants. Yeah, so you guys talk about it, not me, but the recommendation was to look at eliminating that from the budget. Reduce some categories at the airport, not necessarily reducing services, but to reduce our line items there and try to work within a tighter budget, a reduction of about $10,000. And talked with Pam about a couple of the items within her budget. She said since she's leaving and retiring, she's okay with me reducing it by $10,000. Looked at within City Hall, council admin, which is for reducing their travel by $2,000. That's typically the kinds of things that's in that area, is like the Iowa League of Cities, attending Southeast Iowa Days, going to Washington, D.C. with our region in June. This $2,000 does not eliminate those things, but it does limit how much of that kind of travel we're doing. A similar reduction in the public works travel budget by $1,000. And then the two final ones that I put in there, animal control. I'm not saying what line items to cut, but just to come up with give some flexibility to y'all to reduce about $7,000 from the expense categories. And historically, that there's several items in there that the amount that's budgeted is over and above what has been the average expenditure. Not that it's over the high expenditure for different years, but on overall, the budget can come down, I think, about $7,000, and asking the fire department to reduce by about $5,000. And giving them, again, the flexibility, you determine which areas that those would come in. That's a what if to get to essentially a balanced budget. But all of the categories are still there that were there for discussion before. I just wanted to make sure you had at least a path that you could consider for a way to get to a balanced budget. And then leave it to the floor for you all to have discussions. And I know at your seats, you also have, as we had talked about, Annette's position. There's basically a set of job duties for the Public Works Planning Administrative Secretary for your review, and how her duties break out between the different areas. And just turn it back to you, Mayor.
What's the council's pleasure? Are there comments or questions on any of those things that Jim outlined?
I like the proposal of, in which which Jim had talked about. I'd like to talk a little bit about the fireworks and how that would work out for the citizens. As folks, I know that that's a pretty nice event that the city puts on, and without it, I don't know how that would look. Or at that top range, what kind of nonprofit would be able to take that on?
And I believe we have an existing contract with J&M for the fireworks. So, do we get that transferred to a different group, or how would that look?
It's an annual one that gets approved every year. We wouldn't necessarily cut this 4th of July celebration out of the park. This would just be not having the actual display. There are, I'm sure, other groups that we could partner with, the Southside Boat Club being one of them. They put on a very good display. Part of the issue we're going to face this year, we basically buy like $10,000 worth of fireworks, and we're looking at roughly a 30% increase in cost of fireworks. So what we're going to be capable of doing is going to be a lot less.
So historically, that roughly $10,000 worth of fireworks, that's been about a 50-50 split then between city cost and donations?
Yeah, so we would still anticipate donations, and then whoever we would partner with, that extra funds would go towards that display.
And then as far as like with animal control, maybe Tom could speak a little bit about what you touched on there by the reduction and what that would look like, for you guys and the police department. Because I know like we had 3 outstanding dog wolves basically running around in the city.
And that's not necessarily what I'm looking at. So for example, within animal control, and you can talk to this, but you got lines like contractual, operating supplies, medical, electrical, vehicle maintenance, property maintenance, where your number is, the number you have is adequate to make sure that you're protected in each of those line items. Overall, if you're down about 7,000, if you look at those historical trends on those, you're more than that on average, lower than that in those total. That's kind of what I was looking to do. But at the same time, I know you do things a little differently each year, and I don't know if there's a little bit of wiggle room that needs to go on in 1 or 2, and that's where I wanted to make sure I'm not saying which line items to reduce.
Yeah.
My name's Tom Crew. I've been around here for 32 years as the police chief, and now went to the low end of the spectrum to animal control, which has always been part of the police department. That changed back when I was chief of police, and they made Eric a department head, a separate department from the police department. But a lot of my our operating budget is like $52,000. So when I saw that reduction of $50,000, we weren't going to be able to operate. And we've taken that place from a really bad situation, a high kill shelter, and made it into what it is today. We have some of the best part-time workers that are dedicated and there on Christmas and holidays and weekends, 365 days a year, where they're taking care of animals. We never know if we're going to have 8 dogs in there or we're going to have 13 from day to day. And but the state also regulates, so we give them certain amount of things. It didn't used to be that way. The city needs to provide them with parvo shots to stop the spread of parvo, which we provide them with that. The cleanliness and the chemicals that we have to use that are state certified for that. Each one of our employees have $3,000 worth of vaccines for rabies ourselves, because it's not when you're going to get bit or if you're going to get bit, it's when, in this business. So it's expensive to get everybody trained and get them up, where we are today. But I think, and I said this before, there's always a little wiggle room in anybody's budget when they put it in there. I do budget a little high for like animal medical, but of that animal medical, almost there's $20,000 there. If we were $17,000 almost comes back to the city, because every adoption and every spay or neuter that gets paid through the vets, and the person that adopts this dog from us pays that fee and it comes back in. So you don't see that revenue coming back, in like a regular checkbook in and out. We show expenditures on that. But if you look at that, even when I put it up fairly high, it's because of the volume of dogs. 275 animals were surrendered to us last year, owner surrenders. That most of them weren't neutered, most of them didn't have current rabies and shot and vaccinations. So we had to spend that money to do that. But the city got most of it back in that process. And we're lucky enough, we have a good support group within the community. I have council members and people that randomly bring us supplies and things like that help our operating budget to stay lower. And I've had a great community support, from everybody with it. The vets offer us a severe discounted rates for spay and neuters, so we can afford to do that, because it's really high. And all 3 of the vets agreed to a number that's really, really reasonable to keep it at that. Some of them said, that they all lose money when they do that for us. They're not making a dime, they're losing money. But they're doing it as a service to the community pretty much, and through animal services. My wife runs our Facebook site for us. She's there 2 to 3 hours twice a week and helps fill in for the cleaning staff. And she volunteers 600 hours. And she does all our coordinations for our adoptions and runs our Facebooks and answers the million questions from the citizens on that. And then she gets hold of me if there's something going on. Like last night, as soon as I left, 3 dogs were running on Orleans. And she called me. I was just getting home. I turned around the driveway and came back. And I know about every dog owner in town. And so I get a description of the dogs. I pretty much nailed where they came from. They got back home relatively fast. But that takes the slack off those guys, because they were busy. They didn't have time. The police didn't have time to go look for these dogs, but it was sure bothering some of the neighbors. And I did write citations for that incident on that. And that's my job. And anyway, I think I can operate on that amount, but I wasn't going to be able to operate on a $50,000 reduction of it. And there's no way, because I pick up the dead squirrels in the streets, the raccoons. I just had to tranquilize a sick raccoon this afternoon in somebody's yard. I drag the deer to the side. The city picks them up. They're in loaders. I pick up all the dead trash that I see in town, or if I get called on, because it's an eyesore for people to drive in town. There's a smashed raccoon in the middle of the road, And it starts stinking in the neighborhoods and stuff. It's not in my job description, but we just do it, you know, that type of thing. And yeah, I handle probably 200 calls on my work phone at home from people. And we're able to take care of the situation. And our dogs don't stay there more than a month and a half, and they get transferred to a no-kill shelter and or get adopted. So we move them through pretty fast, and what we just didn't want to have to go back to the days where we saw paperwork where 38 dogs were put to sleep just because they didn't have room in the shelter. So, and we haven't had to do that in the 10 years that I've been operating the shelter. So anyway, that's all I got to say. Thank you.
Hey, real quick, Tom.
Yes, any questions?
Yeah, do you, as far as the city tax, what's your experience with our population, our citizens who actually have them? And is there any way with like the tags for that, the chickens, and maybe our fines to where we could go up a little bit?
Well, you got to, yeah, when you change the chicken ordinance to $10, you know, and you compared it to getting tags for a dog. Well, you get tags for one dog for $10 if they're neutered. You have 5 chickens, it should have been $50, you know, for 5 chip per chicken. Now they're not as much trouble and they don't get out as much, but they do. I mean, we find them wandering all over town. You know, we get them, and somebody doesn't claim it, and somebody is, oh, that's my flock, you know, or whatever. But the fees, I don't go door to door looking for who has tags and who doesn't. But if I have a call for service to that residence, I ask questions. Is your dog up to date on city tags? And do you have current rabies? And those are our ordinance. And when I do that, then those people, they're up to date. But we send out notices every year for their tags, and those, a lot of them that I had to remind to do that, don't renew their tags on it. So there's more people that don't have city tags for their pets than there are that do. And it's $10 for a spayed or neutered animal, and it's $25 if they're not, and that if they're not altered. And that $25 is kind of a deterrent, you know, for them, or help to think, hey, let's get them spayed or neutered. And we offer through our nonprofit a reduced spay and neuter program where we pay half the vet costs, our nonprofit does, and the individual pays $50. And so they get a $250 spay or neuter for $50. And it has really reduced the amount of kittens and unwanted puppies, you know, in our community. And we only sell 9 of them a month, but all the vets participate in the program. But it's a way, and you also get a rabies shot when you get your dog or cat spayed or neutered in the process. And you can't walk in the door of the veterinarian for $50 and get a rabies shot, you know. So because the office visits are anywhere from 45 to 50 or more just to come in the door. So, and the vets have all agreed to help me out and do that. If your dog gets loose and it comes to the shelter and you're not up to date on shots, we sell you a rabies reclaim, and the vets have agreed, and that's just the cost of the shot. You can go to your current vet and get it done for, you don't pay the office visit. So it's worked out pretty good, and that helps me people keep their dogs and not price them out of their dog with the cost of food and everything else, and vetting is expensive. So I don't know about raising, and the fees, if you get a dog at large charge like the other night, it's $185. All the fees are $185. The city only gets, I think, 35 or 40 with the court costs and everything else on it. So that's something, I mean, that's if the council wants to raise the fees or the fines and things like that, but it adds up really quick. If you don't have city tags, you don't have current rabies, and your dog's at large, you're at $400 and some right there. And some people say, I'm not going to come after my dog. And they leave it, you know, because they can't afford to do it. So anyway, that answer your question? Okay. All right. Thank you.
And the numbers I was putting in there for deductions, I was trying to get it at a figure where I know it's going to cause them to have to make some adjustments, but it's not trying to cut services, it's just trying to keep it a little tighter. And I mentioned, like, even with the fire department, one of the line items that is a pretty iffy one that can cause you trouble is your 18,000 vehicle maintenance. I mean, you can have one repair that blows that budget. And there has to be an acknowledgement as we're dealing with stuff when budgets get out of whack because of that. We got to know that there's things that those are uncontrollable. We just have to do what needs done, and we have to adjust the budget as time goes on to it. But hopefully we have as few of those as possible, and we just try to keep everyone as tight as we can. I did not mention, Brian, you had wanted to, I have a line item there that didn't have a number with it. You had wanted to try to keep the Verity, the electricity on, and do some bare bones maintenance. Now, what was your thought process there?
We can move that electrical bill and the maintenance over and have that come out of the Parks Department without any problem.
Without increasing those budgets.
Right, without increasing the budgets.
And that's, I mean, that's only a couple of thousand that he's looking at. But you were hoping to be able to at least keep this facility somewhat open.
If we can get some volunteers to, at least do a couple, 3 days a week to open it for people to go through it, I think that would be good. The other part of the lighting is security down at the riverfront. That we keep the lights on at night year round on that, and it does help with the parking lots down there and just to keep people out from trying to climb that fence and get into the Verity.
Well, I want to say it's pretty obvious that there's been just an incredible amount of thought and effort and time that's been put into this whole process, from us on the council to department heads to the mayor and to Jim there. And it felt like last week we all kind of hit a brick wall. We ran out of cuts that we were kind of all as a group in favor of, and we still had a hurdle in front of us, and it just felt like general consensus was that we didn't want to do any more library, police, or fire. And so we needed to come up with some new options. And so I want to commend Jim for remaining very flexible throughout this process and keeping his ears open to what department heads were saying, as well as citizens continuing to reach out to us to just reinforce what was important to them throughout this process. And, with the proposal that we have in front of us now, looking at this and seeing how instead of one or two additional really big cuts, it's been broken down into a lot of small pieces that have been spread out at the discretion of a department head across different departments. I feel like for the first time, I can see the finish line in front of us here with this budget. So I don't want to make a motion to just accept all the highlighted ones, because that probably would be counterproductive at this point. So I would ask any council members out there, when we look at just the highlighted items, are there any that you disagree with and you'd like us to discuss? And
May I speak on the flower beds?
yeah, come on up to the microphone, please.
Hi, guys. I'm Crystal McGee. I'm over the adopted bed at the park, which is all the flower beds that are out there. The city does provide. I'm responsible for finding volunteers to plant them, maintain them, tend to them throughout the year. The guys with the park, they till the beds. If you're cutting that, what is going to happen to those beds? If that is cut, that is a main attraction to Rand Park. You have weddings held out there. The regular events that go on in the park throughout the year. It's an attraction to where people go over there. It's something nice that the city has to be able to go through. There's multiple pictures there, whether it's senior pictures, family gathering pictures, school events that go out there, and that area is a background for a lot of pictures. So where my question is, what is the solution if it is cut? The city used to have to plant all those beds. They paid for it and planted, to where now it is done with people volunteering to do so.
Miss, My wife and I was the first one to volunteer to do a bid, and we paid for everything.
Okay.
I forget how many years ago, I was over 25 years ago, I wasn't on the council. But they hired an individual, and that's all they done, a high school kid come in, and that's all they done was take care of them bids. And I asked the person at the time if they take volunteers, they said, well, I suppose. So that's how it got started.
Well, I know Shirley Hendricks-Meyer and Phyllis Benner and Shirley Townsend were all involved in it. When I came in 2006, it was a matter of the plans and stuff were provided. And then Garden Club has done a lot of updates as far as edgers and whatnot. And there's a $20-some thousand sculpture that had went before the council that later this month will be starting as far as installing.
Wife and I, the wife was doing, all I done was drove her out there. But we were doing at least 5 years before Shirley Townsend and Shirley Hendricks-Meyer started in.
Brian, do you know specifically what, because on the line item, it says the $4,000 and it says flower seed purchase. So can you, or is there someone here who can go in depth on what actually is impacted if that $4,000 cut is followed through on?
The impact of it
Yeah.
would be that the Crystal and the group that takes care of it would have to find alternative funding, whether that be donations. I know there's a couple of community grants they could apply for to get that funding. And like I said, it's something we put on there because it's, with the other cuts that we're making to just say like the smaller not-for-profits, it kind of falls along that line. It comes out of our property maintenance budget for the parks.
So that is though, like that's a material cost. That's not staff time going out there
No,
doing any maintenance.
that's
or
material
anything.
cost.
Okay.
And it's what that does, that purchase, the person that adopts the bed receives a voucher. And it is higher than what it has been the last couple of years for the fact of, one, prices have went up. Two, we were using Hy-Vee and not trying to be mean, but they were not very organized. So the city didn't get billed for half the plants that were put in the park. There's-
$4,000
because
is
as
a
far
pretty
as being
cheap.
able to go back there to where we can cut down as far as some of the plants that are purchased. And that right now, Jim's gives us a deal as far as it's based off of flats on how per size of the bed. Over time, beds have changed. They've raised the edges of the flower beds have been raised up because they were basically sinking to where you might see the tops of them, to where measurements can be done of the beds to see exactly if you go off of how far plants are supposed to be planted, how far in. The city does pay a lot for that, but at the same time, there's a lot of plants that are still purchased on top of that and put in there, and special mulches and that type of thing.
$4,000 is a pretty small amount compared to what is spent out there, or what we would have to spend out there if those beds weren't taken care of by volunteers.
There's 39 beds out there total. The mulch I usually try to get donated. Sometimes Walmart will donate, sometimes Farm and Home will donate. We had an issue where we had a bunch donated and it was molding and they didn't want to use it. I don't know if there are donations, if there's a place still for storage wise to be able to keep it. Right now is what happens with the mulch is storm cleanup. The city brings us truckloads of mulch.
So I know Annette and I adopted a bed for many years. One year they actually got the mulch from, several years actually, I believe, from the Great River Waste.
We can't do that anymore.
But it was really nasty. You
And
could
it
find
can't-
all kinds of stuff in it. And it was growing mold and
Yes,
Yes,
and that's
it
what
was-
happened this last time, the last huge batch of mulch that we got. It was molding in the bags.
Yeah.
And what was supposed to be brown mulch or red mulch was fuzzy white mulch.
So Crystal, when you get your people together, you reach out and find out who's willing to adopt a park in that. What time of year do you do that? Is it coming up now? So have
Right now,
you,
letters will be, they didn't go out because I had heard this. So in turn, the letters usually go out mid-February as far as how's everybody doing. Robins hopefully are appearing soon. If you're wanting your bed tilled, you need to let me know so I can flag the beds. The beds need to be cleared out last year. At the end, if they were not, they will not be tilled. That's not the guys' responsibility. That's you as an adopter. And in turn, the vouchers come with it. It gets taken up to Jim's greenhouse. That's who fills the vouchers. You go up there and you're allotted X amount and you pick out your plants.
so have you spoken with any of the people that are going to adopt, how they feel? I mean, will they not adopt a garden if they
people
have to pay for
purchase
it?
their plants, there's not going to be a list of
I
people.
don't think any of them will.
Very few will.
Crystal, how big is that voucher? Because you said you had 39 beds. So is that the 4,000 divided by 39? So just
It's not,
about $100?
it
or-
is, but it isn't, because you have some beds that are, longer and wider than what your guys' area is there. And then you have other ones that are circles, or it's based off of their size. Each voucher is a little different. I mean, there are a few vouchers that are the same,
Mhm.
but it's just because the bed sizes, they average to be about the same.
I mean, give or take then around 100, a little more, a little less, depending on the size of the bed then.
Yeah.
And so from year to year, the people that adopt those beds, anything above that voucher,
They pay
they're
out of
doing as their
pocket.
own donation to
Yes.
begin with then. Yeah.
And like the stuff that is, I don't want people to think that the voucher merely pays for the plants. And like I said, the mulch and stuff is usually done. The only thing that it does pay for that is not a plant is, not every year, but every so many years, the fountain doesn't work as a fountain anymore. They have coconut liners that are inside of there, and then the dirt goes in to where over time those coconut liners break down. So they have to be replaced just to be able to help keep the moisture in the plants, and it's easier to maintain and makes it look cleaner, to where those are part of those every so many
Do
years.
you guys attend the Park and Recreation Board meetings?
I have.
I just wonder if maybe they would have an idea maybe they can give you a little bit of help on top of what we can do.
I'm just afraid a lot of people will drop out because it's not an easy, you have to love what you do in order to do it. You've done it yourself, so it's, some
Well,
people
it
think
does
it's
get
just
the-
stick
Does
plants
get
in.
the citizens involved in the community. Yeah. Oh, yeah, we went away for a week on vacation. We come back and them petunias were just legged down. My wife, I said, I'll go get the tiller and we'll tell it out.
Yes.
But they got in and got it fixed.
Yeah, I definitely I understand your concern. The Talbot, we have a bed out there and we don't have a big budget. So when we do what we can with the vouchers, and that's about what we do. And actually the vouchers do cover, if you use them correctly, you can get your bed done.
Yes, you can.
Yeah. So, yeah, when you say there's 39 beds and, for people, so, when you garden, obviously, you're going to be out there and you're out there with other gardeners and you see a lot of people who walk through, who actually come and sit in the garden and stuff.
Mhm.
The understanding of if those vouchers are not handed out, you're probably going to get maybe half of your
Right now,
people.
sometimes it is a struggle to have all the beds adopted.
So, no, I definitely, sitting here, I understand your concern of, not being able to fill the vouchers.
I don't know if people realize also that you don't just plant the garden and walk away.
I know. and see, a
Most
lot
of the
people
time
think that.
I've done that, like, I've had a garden probably for 10 to 20 years. Pam and Annette and a bunch of us had one, and my sister-in-law's, and it's not a daily thing. I mean, it's not a yearly thing. You have to go there 2 and 3 times a week. You have to make sure they're watered, and I do know we have sprinklers now and everything, but they have to be weeded. You have to take care of the plants that are in there. You have to add mulch if it needs to be added. It's a very time-consuming thing that you do, and now, and, you know, I can sort of understand the idea that if, I mean, they're not paying
That's
for my
basic-
plants.
Providing the plans is basically like saying thank you for
Yeah.
tending to it.
It's, I just wanted everybody to know that it's a very time-consuming thing that you do. And you have to want to do it, and you have to attend, and you have to, and, you know, the gift of the flowers is great. I don't know how that's going to come out tonight, but it is, and it's hard to not be there, so.
Well, I know there's a lot of people that do those gardens. My wife did it for 3 years or so, and I know she put a lot more money into it than.
That's what I was meaning.
That's
yes.
right.
Yeah, and so there's a lot of pride there, and I think that it's great for the community and it's great for the people that want to participate, and I'd hate to see it taken away.
My opinion is the flowers look nice, and I appreciate the efforts of everybody, but this is akin to keeping cable television when you got to cut bills. It's unfortunate that this is one thing that has to go away, but or that should go away. But $4,000 is a good chunk of money for a very small section in one park in one little area of the city of Keokuk. We don't plant flowers. You know, in the other parks, we should just let this one go. The area can be grass like it is in every other park. That's unfortunate, but with our financial straits that we're in, I think it would be advisable to not spend $4,000 on flowers.
Thank you.
I would suggest also checking in with the, like the flower club.
The garden club is a nonprofit to where we have a fundraiser a year, which is held over here at the gazebo. And that fundraiser usually helps to try to replant the trees in Ram Park that's been lost due to storms. Or other things, we put benches up different places and stuff where that's basically our only fundraiser that there is. Besides the sculpture that we're putting up on it.
What's your pleasure, guys?
Well, I make a motion that we eliminate or reduce the attorney fees by the 60,000. Make that in form of a motion.
Second?
Moved in second that we reduce the attorney fees by 60,000. Further discussion? Those in favor, let's do a roll call. Celeste?
Marshall,
Here. Yes or no?
Yes, I'm sorry.
You're okay.
Walker.
Aye.
Mahoney.
Aye.
Matlick,
Aye.
Dade,
Aye.
Andrews, Van Berkom.
Aye.
Bryant,
Hey,
Greenwald,
Aye.
8-1, motion passes.
Motion passes. You're on a roll, Doug.
I think we need to have a conversation about item number 3, staffing at the fire department. We've made cuts into other public safety. We're one of 2 cities with a population under 20,000 with a full-time fire department. The other one's Fort Madison. They run 5 per shift. It's not a criticism of the fire department or their staff, but we should look at, we are overstaffed for a city of our size. We should look at reducing staff through attrition or retirement, just like we did the police department.
I think that's a topic that needs some formal research. And I know last time we brought it up, I did ask that the chief would start that process, knowing that that might take 1 to 2 years. And we do have current union contracts that are in place that kind of dictate some of the requirements that the fire department has. So I'm not disagreeing with you, but I just feel like we are not in a position tonight to make any formal changes to the structure of the fire department without having the full research done and brought for us to review.
That's exactly what we did with the police department. We took away 3 staff members from the police department, and there's 2 more up on the shopping block.
So you comparing the police and the fire department?
What's that?
Are you comparing the police and the fire?
Not directly, just as.
Just saying, making a statement saying that they got 2 positions that are open?
Well, we reduced them by 3 positions there, and
Yes.
2 more are on the shopping block,
Well,
comparing as a public safety entity.
right. So the concern of people I've talked to is they're calling people at the fire department off duty. So they're not really having an off-duty day because they're the ones that just went off are the first ones to get called. The first 7 minutes is the most important, and you have to make a decision. Do you go in, because you have to have 2, and initially you only have 3 setting up hoses and trucks. So you want to make a decision, you want to put the fire out, or you want to try to save somebody in that fire?
Well, if the first 7 minutes argument is posed, I would ask, how far away from the fire department are the off-duty firefighters?
Well, the one on Middle Road took them 5 minutes to get there.
Right.
A little circumstances with the wind.
I understand that. But the fact of the matter remains, we are overstaffed for a city of our size. It's a huge chunk of our budget. It's the elephant in the room that nobody's talked about for years. We've whittled down the police department, and again, doing it through retirement or attrition, not getting rid of individuals' jobs. But it's something that we're going to have to do.
Well, there's a way that maybe we just can kind of ride this out a little bit, because here in a couple of years, people are going to be retiring. So not that you might not replace them right at that time, but just to make sure that we have, because we always have somebody on vacation, somebody that's sick. So you're going into a fire with 5 people, or responding to with 5.
How many structure fires do we have per year?
I think we had close to 30 this year.
Where entry was needed to be made?
Yeah, most of the time, we're going in to try to put it out, yeah.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion that we, the last items on what Jim has introduced to us, starting with additional building and zoning reductions, council administration travel, reduce animal control, reduce public works travel budget, reduce fire department line items. I make it in the form of a motion that we do those recommendations on those cuts.
Second.
So, am I seeing that's the last 5 on the list there then? Is
Yes.
what you said? Just so everybody knows where we're at. Well, the last 5 on the yellow ones.
On the yellow list.
Yes. Right. Sorry, took me a while to get there too. So it's been moved and seconded that we accept the changes as suggested on additional building and zoning, council, admin, travel, training, and budget reduction to reduce the animal control, reduce public works travel budget, and reduce fire department line items by 5,000. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. It's been moved and seconded. Discussion?
So basically, I talked with Pam about a couple of her line items, what she had budgeted in professional services, and I can't remember the title of the other category, and looking at what she's had for expenditures out of there. It's mainly for Southeast Iowa Regional Planning Commission that we've had expenses out of those categories in the last couple of years, or some type of a planning type document. And just looking at what we actually have that we have on the books to accomplish out of those, we can make those categories work with what we have planned or 10,000 less than what was budgeted in those total. That's the reason for that one to get reduced.
So that won't have, so what's the impact of?
It's not really an impact. It's just, what it means is that we don't have anything built in there if we have something come up during the year that we would like to have addressed as a study. I mean, for example, we talking with Zach this morning or this afternoon about it'd be nice to have a tax abatement option instead of a TIF rebate that we offer to businesses, and that would require establishing an urban revitalization plan, another planning document to implement a tax abatement program. For it, getting that done would be about $5,000. We don't have a plan for doing that. That would be something that would have been accommodated without having it planned out in advance if we didn't reduce here.
Could those come out of economic development, though?
And that's something that we could look at over too, because there is a little bit of a balance in economic development to make that still happen even without having it budgeted here. So.
With that 10,000, what does that leave them, or?
One of those was 7,000 and the other I think was like 17,000. I might be off by the dollar amounts, but one of them, we had one that was budgeted at 22,000 that would reduce it to 17, and the other, I want to say, was at 12 and it's reducing it to 7, but I'm going off the top of my head. It's 5 for each category, so.
I can support most of that. I would like to echo Councilmember Greenwald's opinion on reducing the fire department budget. The things covered, training, gas, repair equipment, contractual, safe house, office supplies, et cetera. I just don't have a good idea of how that's going to affect the overall response, safety, all these factors that I can't really speculate on. So I'm not comfortable with that cut of 5,000. And then once again, with the $7,000 proposed cut to animal control, maybe that is a number we can change a little bit, maybe cut a little bit, maybe not all 7,000. But the other ones I can support. That's my opinion on those. Thank you.
What are you thinking on the animal control, 5,000?
Chief Rose, can you speak to us on what that $5,000 cut at your discretion would do to your department?
Yeah, I think we could probably absorb that and still conduct business the way we should.
And Tom said that he could work with that budget too.
Mhm.
So I think we have a motion and a second. I think we should vote.
It's been called for question. We need a vote on that. Call for the question. No?
Are they going
Just ending discussion.
Yeah. All right.
Marshall,
Yes.
Walker.
Aye.
Mahoney,
Aye.
Matlick,
Aye.
Dade, Andrews, Van Berkom,
Aye.
Bryant, Greenwald,
Aye.
7-2.
2. Motion passes, so that cuts those by that amount.
Can I go back to, it's been brought up about the fire department discussion. We'd had a little bit of a discussion this morning, even department head meeting. We're going to be talking about additional thoughts towards the out years. We need to see what happens with property tax bill at the state level right now. There's I've mentioned it a couple of times, there's 3 different proposals that are out there which have a whole wide-ranging, it's like a shopping cart of different ways to limit our funding. What it seems like they are the most likely to have as at least a baseline that they do for a cut on that is putting a 2% cap on our revenue growth from one year to the next. If I were to look at that over we did a a look at what our revenue growth has been for property tax collections over the last 17 years. We've averaged 2.3% average per year. Some years have been 5 or 6%. We've had other years that have been negative 5%. If you put a 2% cap in any given year and you look at what the last 17-year history was, and you make any of the years where we had more than a 2% only be a 2%, we would have averaged 0.4% revenue growth. So we're looking, that's $150,000 impact on our revenues from one year to the next in and of itself. And there are other items that they're looking at having besides that. Until we know what comes through, we don't know what the size of our issue is going to be for planning and into the out years. And what it makes sense is to find out where everything lands, what gets actually approved, and then doing some revenue projections and saying what are we looking like over the next 3 years, and what are some what ifs on what the impact is going to be, and then what steps should we look at to address those. And that's where I think, as you're having a discussion about, we haven't hit on this item, which really technically isn't something that's part of the current year's discussion, just based off of how contract language is, can be part of that discussion and should be part of how do we look at how are we going to address that longer term issue. And I hope it doesn't get lost in the cracks, but it is something that needs to happen. We're still a couple of months off from knowing what that final bill is going to be, though.
Jim, I do have a question about the airport, the reduction of 10,000. Has that been something that's been discussed with
Actually,
management?
Brian brought that to me, so.
Is that something they can live with that's not going to affect what they're doing?
Yeah, so I went through operational budgets for the last 3 or 4 years, and like Jim was saying, when in Pam's department or other departments, there's a lot of, we try to build in enough to where we don't go over budget. So this would just be tightening up 3 line items, maybe 4 line items in there that we're still, I don't think we still would go over budget in those. It's built in right now that there is that wiggle room. Anything more than that, I wouldn't recommend doing out there.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that
So
everybody's on the same page.
what I want to give you an idea of what's going on in all of these departmental budgets. Within the airport, you have a building repair line item that's budgeted at $36,500. Let's go through the last few years' expenditures there. In '22, we spent $33,000. Following year, $30,000. Following year, $27,000. Then $24,000 last year, and we're at $13,000 this year. We've never come close to $36,000. This is what we're doing in all of these budgets, is cutting the numbers down so there's not as much wiggle room in it. These are not things that are designed to put crimps on operation. It just takes away some of that flexibility when the, oh crap, that happened, comes up.
And part of that out with the airport is we're going to have a new terminal facility, and we've done some remodels on hangars and stuff. So we shouldn't have, building maintenance shouldn't go up any from what Jim had just discussed.
Then I make a motion that we reduce the airport budget by 10,000.
Second.
Moved and seconded to reduce the airport budget by 10,000. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Marshall?
Aye.
Walker?
Aye.
Mahoney?
Aye.
Matlick?
Aye.
Dade? Andrews? Van Berkom?
Aye.
Bryant?
Aye.
Greenwald?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Motion passes.
I would like to discuss the fireworks a little bit. That's kind of a double-edged sword with the fact that cost of goods are going to go up 30% with the tariffs and everything. I'm wondering if we can put on a decent show for 10,000 if it's going to go up 30%. And this would be for this year's fireworks, since it's a new fiscal year, correct?
Yes.
How much do we usually get from, I know the, in the water bill, the citizens are asked to donate
Correct.
to the fireworks display. Do you know how much on an average we
So
get?
the impact on our budget would be the 5,000. I think historically we get between $5,000 and $7,000 in donations.
Little less than that. But yeah, about 5,000 average.
That we take in,
That we bring in for
we
donations.
bring in, and then we
And
have
then
to come up with another 5 on a whole?
We budget for 5, yeah.
we budget a
We budget for
$10,000
10, but
expenditure.
5
It's
of
a
it's
net
the-
5.
Yeah.
Is there another company that's cheaper? I know we've used the same one, and then this year it was a little different. We used the same company, but somebody new, or,
Somebody, I believe, purchased that company, and I know Doug and I have had conversations about fireworks for the Big Dam Street Festival. For one, it's hard to get the insurance to do it, and the other one, I don't know of any other companies around here that,
Yeah, the insurance is like 5,000 on its own. If it's not through the right channels. put it
Right.
that way.
so this past year we had fireworks at the south side. They had fireworks at the south side, and the next night they had fireworks in the park. Is there a way to combine that would save us some money?
well, that's kind of what we would take our donated money and hopefully maybe partner with the South Side or another entity and combine that into a bigger display.
Because, and I know that people probably think I'm being a little favoritism for the south side, but I'm not, but their fireworks were better than the ones in Rand Park, a lot better, and it didn't cost that much money.
The reason for that is, I'm trying to remember the classes of fireworks, but we pay for a license for the big fireworks, which cost a lot more. I believe the South Side, they get a special event permit to do that, and they just go buy their own fireworks from the firework tents, which gives you a lot more volume of fireworks.
And the one problem, Southside did a great job, but they were classified different because of how many people that were watching it. If you get over a certain level if you went with the city, Southside wouldn't have been, their insurance wouldn't have covered it.
But if we partner with them.
Yeah, I understand that.
If we
I'm
partner
ju-
with them, then they would go against, the display could still go against our insurance because it is let off in a city park. It's
All
still
I-
at
all
Hoover
I'm-
Landing.
All I'm just asking is if there's a way to partner, maybe that's a way to save money.
The big dollar one that's still on the list is the reducing the non-union salary increase from 4% to 2%. There was some discussion at the department head meeting this morning about that. Gabe or Zeth, would you like to speak on that?
Yeah, there's just concerns of compression. I'm going to say 5 years ago or so, we had a lady come down from Chicago for a wage study for all of our departments. We kind of ironed that out to where there was proper spacing between each promotional position. When you do these type of cuts, it just narrows that gap. And sometimes it's hard to get people to take those promotions. They prefer to stay down lower with less responsibility in their overtime. Sometimes it's just as much as the guy above them. So it just creates a problem with compressing the positions.
A lot of these cuts that we've been talking about have been organizational, meaning impacts on future budgets as well. So when we're looking at this particular line item, is this just for this year, a 1-year reduction? Or is this saying whatever the current plan forward is being reduced for multiple years?
If you're saying, are we saying that we would reduce 2% every year moving forward? No, the intent just based off of this would be in out years, you'd be getting to the point where you're still having the same raises for all groups.
Zeth?
That still doesn't get away from your and I'm sorry, you
Yeah,
can talk about your compression issues. You're going to have long-term compression issues that I think you're going to have to account for at some point in the future.
Yeah, in what that would likely lead to is at some point, the department heads would come to you and say, now we need a significant raise to get us back up to where that gap is where it's supposed to be. I can echo what Chief Rose said. We have multiple promotional lists at our department. I would say we probably have 8 people that qualify to take those tests, and we only get 3, maybe 4 that will take them because the pay incentive isn't enough to offset your loss of union protection and just the additional responsibility that comes along with being the decision maker.
These cuts, they come back and bite you. I mean, we've not had a raise sometimes for the employees. And then down the road, you got to have a big raise, or otherwise you're not going to have the employees. We've not bought police cars. You know, you buy, what is it, 2 a year, something like that. Well, there was 1 or 2 years there where we didn't buy any, and then boom, then, the maintenance cost went up. Then we had to buy 4 cars instead of 2. So it just comes back to where the level's going to be. I don't really know, but they're hitting us. The population is down, taxes are up. Both of you guys can sit there and prove that what you got is needed. You can prove what you need. But where do we get the money?
I'd also like just to throw out there that our health insurance is also going up 3% July 1 for family employees or for family health plans.
I probably know the answer to this question, but is it a possibility that we could go back to the table with union and non-union and go to 2%? I know the union, I know it was contracted, signed, but if you don't have the money to pay them, you don't have the money to pay them. You don't have the money to do the raise, you don't have the money. Is there a way to go back and renegotiate?
I can't speak for the unions, but I don't think that that's likely.
And it's not something we go back and ask. They could, I mean, again, I've been through a situation where the unions, during a discussion like this, where we're talking about eliminating several different positions, we're talking about eliminating services, they volunteered by coming in and saying, if we can maintain a position, we will take a change, an alteration to what our raise is. But that's up to the employee groups. That's not us. We already did a fair bargaining with them.
What does item 14 entail? The 30,000 for tourism in Main Street?
That's just a figure thrown out there. I mean, we've reduced Main Street from 65 to 40,000. We reduced tourism from 124,200 to, is that right? Down to 75. Thank you. It's just saying that you could have a consideration of that being a larger reduction than that. Brian,
Where do we stand now on dollar amounts we're trying to get to? Have you get running total?
You're
short that 32,800, the 5,000 and the 4,000.
Yeah, so 41,800.
So those are the only 3 that haven't been acted on that lower category.
And I guess in terms of like the impact on the organizations, I would have to rely on Kirk for tourism. We talked with Main Street, with where you're working for a budget here for this next year. You're looking to increase your sponsorships from organizations from 10,000 to 25 or 50,000, and I think you think probably that 25,000 is about the range that you're
Yeah.
more realistic.
Yep.
That means reducing one admin position for them with the cut that they've had so far. Having a more significant cut for them will really will significantly hurt them. And I would say, Kirk, that's probably fairly similar to the kind of conversation you're going to have. Am I correct?
So, I hoped I wouldn't have to go this far. But anyway, in 2023-24, the department heads got a raise, and it was to bring you guys up to where I think, is not my understanding, to bring you up to where you should be. It was supposed to be like around the $5,000 mark, and we did that, and we talked about $5,000 for the department heads, and then the following year, we talked about if we could, we would do the supervisors, that type of situation, and then we decided the next following year, we would get the rest of the employees. And then instead, we gave it wasn't a total 5,000, but it was based on a percentage, and that was given to the department heads. And then the next year was when we went 5%, and then 5% last year, and then this coming year, 4%. Would it be a situation, since the department heads had already received a raise above the other people, that we could not give the department heads a raise or give them 2% as opposed to everybody? I don't know. I don't know what the cost or the amount of money there would be. And again, it's not something that I say very lightly at all. I think we have great department heads, and I've said that all along, but I'm just offering a situation.
So I have something. So what's been sticking in, so we pay $120,000 for recyclable every year. Can we revisit that? I want to go to, is that for 2 men to go around picking up recyclable? Another thing, we did do the dumpsters on a trailer at one point. I know it gets messy, but those 2 gentlemen that do that, I mean, they could go around once or twice a week and clean that up or pull it out to the transfer station. And if anybody's older that wants to do recyclable, they could call the city and say, hey, we have recyclable, and reduce that way down. We're trying to penny pinch. Okay, but I'm just talking, I'm just talking to free up that money. We're talking taking 2 to 4% here and there for public safety, and we've had conversations about our recycling program, but for this budget, we're talking about, like Doug said, it does not affect the general fund, but there has been ongoing conversations about a recycling program.
I brought up with Brian that I think it would be very valuable to have a discussion about how we run our solid waste program. I don't want it, it's white noise, because this is a general fund discussion. That is one that needs to have its own time. And I think the council, I mean, you're going to spend some time, because really to change, we can have some discussions about, can you change some route dynamics to maybe free up some time for mowing? That's one thing. But the other is what is our fundamental service there? The level of service we provide for our solid waste program is pretty high. And we pay a premium for it. And is that really what we want to do? And that's the kind of discussion you're having. But that's around, does it make sense to have a look at what we're providing for solid waste at the fee structure that we are, or can we do this more cost efficiently? It won't save any money in the general fund, which doesn't help us for right now, but I think the conversation makes sense to have at some point.
Okay. So I was told by a person that demos houses that he is not allowed to dump out at the transfer station. For some reason, they cut him off, but they let these people come from Illinois They travel clear from
Go to
Quincy
Fort Madison.
to dump their waste at our transfer station.
That's
So-
just, so you have to take, contractor materials have to go to Fort Madison.
Right, and
Solid
they're-
waste can go to our transfer station.
Okay.
But we do have a lot of out-of-state people that come and dump here because our rates are cheaper than theirs are. And Roger can attest to that. He deals with the regional, or the waste authority. And the other, when back to the departmental stuff, when you're talking raises in public works, we have 25, I have 25 union employees, there's 34 overall. There's only 1.7 employees that raises come out of the general fund. The rest of those raises are in the proprietary funds. So that, if that helps with the decision any. So that equates to $3,000 in public works that come out of, manager-wise, that come out of the general fund for the raises we're talking about.
I'd like to make a motion to eliminate the funds for the flowers up at Rand Park.
Do we have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there further discussion?
I'd like to see, if anything, I'd like to see it go to 2,000, still give them the 2,000 and let them fundraise, or the community, some nonprofit come in and do the heavy lifting there. I do think it's important. We have our seniors and we have a lot of our community that uses that particular thing. So I do think the city should have a little bit of a hand in it, that 2,000.
We've got a motion on the floor right now, so
Yeah.
I don't know if you're gonna save any money
see where we
because
end up.
if volunteers don't do it, then you're gonna have a city employee do it. So you're gonna pay one way or the other.
Any further? Celeste, you want to
Brian,
give us a roll?
quick question on this one. We able to find some funding in the Parks Department for the GOM Verdi. Is there any extra room for the flower garden?
That's, I mean, that's where this money is right now. Like I said, it's up to the council, just with being tasked with going through all these different budgets of what can we cut that doesn't necessarily cut our services or staffing to the community. I mean, I don't, like I said, it's up to the council. I mean, $4,000 in the grand scheme of things doesn't make or break it. And to their, you know, when they do the fundraisers, I know she was talking about like trees in the parks and stuff, but maybe to help that out, we did receive a $50,000 grant for trees in the park last year that we're going to use. I don't know if that helps you with your fundraising, that more of that money could go towards flower beds or.
We average about $500.
Um,
That's what's made. The rest of the stuff that we do and have done around the city is by a city donation. We do not ask the city. As a garden club, we don't ask the city for funding. We did not ask the city for any funding when it came to this culture. All we asked for was permission.
Thank you.
And I would say there is money in the parks. I mean, we have the park and rec board has a discretionary fund, but it's all out of the same budget. So you'd be moving this money from like the property maintenance line item down to the park and rec line item that we, you know.
We've had to make a lot of tough decisions on various things so far. I mean, we've cut all the funding we give to the Art Center and the Fine Arts Council and the Rand Park Pavilion. And I mean, the list just keeps going on and on and on of all the various things that we've had to make these tough choices on. And at the end of the day, when I compare, you know, public safety versus vouchers for flower beds, I know we got to make the tough decisions. And it just seems, me, I can only speak for myself, But I suppose I'd rather cut vouchers for flower beds than any more public safety.
But that's why it's called discussion.
Yeah.
To open it up, so
Yeah,
then, you know,
And I'm just sharing my opinion.
yeah, definitely.
Jim, could you speak to what it would look like to use some of our emergency general fund to kind of relieve the pressure? And how much of that maybe be utilized to relieve some of the pressure, like for the niceties, like Flower Garden, some of our volunteer organizations?
So we're going to enter this next year's budget. General fund should have about $1.7 million cash on hand. Major items that you're looking to do is to implement franchise fee increases, about $840,000 to balance the budget. That you're not going to receive 2/3 of that to 3/4 of that first year. So even with talking about this being a balanced budget, it's really losing about $560,000. That puts the general fund with what we're calling a balanced budget going down to about $1.1 million, which is about a 10% cash carryover. When you talk about percentage of expenditures that you have as a carryover balance, 1.1 million would be just over 10%. If you go to a bonding agency, they want to see 20 to 25% because they're looking at your ability to pay bills and maintain things. If I was looking at anything with that emergency fund, it would be to just transfer it to the general fund to offset the portion of the franchise fees that we're not going to get collected this first year to maintain that balance there. At the end of the day, it's not going to help one way or another which one it's in, but it will help to offset how low our cash balance is going to be in a general fund. We're not in a spot where we're running out of money, but we are too low. If I was using that emergency fund, the recommendation is to transfer it to the general fund just to supplement that loss from what's not going to come in from the franchise fee, if that makes sense.
Motion on the floor with the flower beds. Is there further discussion?
When it comes to the fireworks, there are letters that are sent out in the waterworks bill asking for donations to help provide for the fireworks. Is a letter able to go out and ask for help as far as to pay for the flowers?
Yeah.
Where that would help offset the drawing board can be gone back to as far as out there to where vouchers are cut. My fear is if it is completely done and people have to pay out of pocket, it's getting, and I know I'm not comparing the flowers to any type of public safety whatsoever. I'm not trying that at all. I just don't know as me what my options are, what the options are for trying to get grants to pay for the flowers because it is a city thing. So is that me looking for grants? Is that the city looking for grants? How does that work?
Sorry, I was just talking to Pam about some grant funding that we could probably, with Annette's help, work with you on that. We do have some grant funding right now that's within the park system. We just have to check if it could be used for flowers, and it was for the bocce ball court, which we're having trouble raising the rest of the funds for anyways. I mean, that would get you funding for 3 years worth of flowers at that level. So that's definitely a discussion we can have. And I know there's some other local grant opportunities that could be applied for to help out too.
I would say don't hold your breath on that one, but he can certainly check and see if that'll work. It's all up to what the funding source says they're willing to do.
Yeah, and it was also a local, I think it was a lot more.
Yeah.
We have the
That's
money.
right. It's
I mean,
our
it
cash
just,
is already
it's,
in hand.
we have the money within that grant, it's just that they'll let us use it within the park system for a different purpose. That's not what I'm saying, I just said we'd have to check with the people that issued the grant to see if we could do that.
Further discussion from the council? Let's do a roll call vote. Celeste?
Marshall,
Motion on to eliminate the flower bed funding.
Okay.
It's 4,000.
Walker,
Nay.
Mahoney,
Nay.
Matlick,
Nay.
Dade, Andrews, Van Berkom,
Aye.
Bryant,
Hey,
Greenwald,
Aye.
motion.
Motion fails.
I would like to make a motion under the, let me get my stuff straight here. On the salaried positions, I would make a new motion that we reduce it by 1%, from 4% to 3% on salary positions.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded that the non-union salary increase goes from 4% to 3%. Jim, can you give us an estimate on what we're talking there?
16,400.
So we're talking about a savings of 16,400. Discussion? Discussion? Give us a roll call, Celeste.
Marshall,
Hey. Yes.
Walker,
Aye.
Mahoney,
Aye.
Matlick,
Aye.
Dade, Andrews, Van Berkom, Bryant,
aye.
Greenwald,
Aye.
motion passes.
Motion passes.
What are we going to do with items 4 and 5 with those two positions that are coming open?
Again, everything's a menu item, so it's not like we have to do anything with any of those things down below. Right now, we're
Roughly 25 away.
Yeah, 25,400.
Yeah, 25,400 away from what was our goal target, so.
I was thinking one thing we could do on number 6, I believe, let me make sure I get it right here. Number 6 on I was thinking of maybe reducing that by 10,000 since we're going to be hiring a new person. That should be striving a goal to trying to get that, and maybe a small reduced cost of getting a new person in there. Considering that Pam's been here for so many years, I think we might be able to get somebody a little more reasonable.
You putting that in the form of a
I will
motion?
put that as a form of a motion.
Are we doing it now right now?
No, we're doing,
It would be to reduce the building and zoning by $10,000 on number 6.
number 6.
I have
Oh, you got a
actually,
different paper.
I mean, I've actually stated that. The only thing that I'm going to be here for I'll be paid for 5 months, and I don't know what your overlap's going to be. So just make sure you,
So let's hang on a second. Did we get a second on the motion?
Second.
All right, now discussion.
So you would fill this position at probably 10,000 less.
But we're going to have a gap.
But you're going to have your last day of work is going to be when?
so my last day in the office is going to be October 9th.
When's
but
your
then,
last day on payroll?
The end of November.
And so if you're going to not fill that position, if you don't fill her position until her last day on payroll, where you could actually save $10,000, you're going to have that position vacant for 2 months in there. And that's going to have no overlap. I mean, I think that if anything, the cost is actually going to be higher than the 88,000 is budgeted. If you're doing, I mean, ideally, you'd like to have someone in here to have at least a little bit of transition time with her in the office.
So if I take a payout, is that going to make a difference?
No, it's not going to really make that much difference. So, if you're going to have any overlap, you're not going to save money. What you're basically, to do that, you're saying that you're going to have her pay go out whenever she's done on payroll. And then if she's going to have a sick leave payout too, then bring someone else in at a lower figure of about 10,000 lower. And that's actually, to save 10,000, it's going to be, because it's going to be 2/3 of a year, it's going to have to be 15,000 lower. And I think it's going to be hard to fill somebody who actually has a planning background. In Southeast Iowa anyway, it's hard to get someone to come down here. And the further down you go, the less likely that is to get accomplished. You can fill the position with people who will do a good job, but they're not going to know what they're doing with planning. And that's probably one of the harder, I'd say one of the harder parts of the job to really get done well. I don't know if that's fair to say or not, Pam. But, and I struggle to say, the long and short is I struggle to say you're going to be able to save money by looking at it that you're bringing someone else in less than at a lower pay, because I think I was already planning that she'd probably, whoever came in and replaced her would be at a lower pay.
We have a current freeze on hiring, right? Down here at City Hall.
Mhm.
So we're not anticipating training somebody to take over your spot, Pam, at this point? We're not.
We're not doing it now. I haven't even.
Hiring freeze is till September.
Yeah, and we haven't
Till
looked at.
September.
I mean, she's asked what we're doing or what my plans were for filling her position. Well, you know what? I don't have any plans, especially when we got to get through this budget season before we knew what was going on.
Sure.
So we haven't done anything.
I would say, unless we're going to have somebody train with Pam to impart some of that accumulated wisdom onto a new person, it'll be like you said, it'll be a long time before they're able to, confidently take over all those responsibilities. So I don't see a new person coming in anywhere close to Pam's salary, is what I'm trying to say. So I think we could even cut that number even more, maybe even in half. But that's just my opinion.
Well, my thought on training, you just can't bring somebody in 1 month and say, okay, I've showed you the basics. That kind of job would at least take, depending on the individual, 4 to 6 months to learn. Maybe less, but I mean, we just can't a month, then we're going to be scrambling.
I don't think any position that you're coming into, unless you're with the fire department or the police department, that you've actually, they're shadowing somebody or they're taking, I mean, most of us that come into our positions, you're just going to have to, learn as you go. You're going to miss some things. You're going to have to, eat crows out now and again that you did miss something. And I still miss things now and then. It's not a perfect, no one's perfect. And I think that whoever comes in, I mean, like I said before, if they need to call me, I'll be more than happy to, assist with any questions. And I know the fire department will help out if they can on some inspections and that type of thing. I mean, they do it for me. I suppose they would do it for other individuals. So I don't think that any of us have a training time realistically of more than a month or so.
So with the girls up front in the offices between Amy and Shannon, they have took Amy Barnes' position, and both of them split that up, and that came out to $38,000 a year that they're saving by doing that. So it's almost been 2 years So that's almost $77,000 just by not filling that one position. So I just put that out there.
Can you read the motion again, please? Do we have a motion on the table?
Can you?
Can you please? Somebody read the motion again, please.
To reduce number 6 by $10,000. So instead of 88, it would be 78,000.
They can't hear you.
My mic's on.
Oh, okay.
No,
I'm just saying
instead
he
of,
couldn't hear you.
it would not be to 78, it would be from 88 in cuts to just 10 in cuts. We're only, the motion was only to cut 10,000.
$10,000.
83.
Oh, it's 78.
88 on this
Yeah,
sheet.
but the 88 is the cut amount, not the spend amount.
No.
So we're saying we're only going to cut 10. We're not saying we're cutting
Well, it's
78.
not. It says right here, 88.
away are we from our target?
About 25,000.
You're saying you would cap the new salary at 78?
Correct.
Could we just cut the remaining 25,000 from this budget and be done with it?
I don't think we'd be able to get a qualified person for the position if we cut that much out of the one job.
You could, out of the
somebody-
administrative position, you could probably cut at least 6. Because you're not going to hire somebody in that position for
If we were
the
looking
amount
at
of Annette's leaving.
somebody coming in fresh to Pam's job, I would think that 60 grand would be a good starting salary for that job. Just my opinion. I mean,
What's your opinion, Pam?
I mean, you're going to have to give other departments other pieces of the job if you're going to do that. There's no way that you're going to get somebody in here that does, and like I said, and I apologize, I didn't, these are sent out for our annual report. They're sent out in July, so I'm going to resend these to you guys. Doesn't do you any good now. That just shows our building department part of it. There's also, and I told you this last, week, the permits, there's fence, building, demo, on the building permit and fence permit, the demo permits also. If it's a house, you got to make sure that, the water and sewer's capped before you can do anything. I was telling this morning, I was going to try for you guys to just write down my daily, every time I got a call or somebody came in, building permit, I spent more time writing stuff down than getting my job done. So I actually quit that Wednesday. I just, there's a lot to this position and maybe a lot more people call me for information because I've been here so long. I don't know. But there's also the zoning part, there's planning, which is Board of Adjustment. There's the zoning, that's your setbacks, and I'm not very good at explanation, so I apologize. Your airport zoning, your floodplain, your code revision. I assist with housing grants, planning grants. There's a subdivision, your boards and commissions. You have Planning Commission, Board of Adjustment. As I said, airport zoning, I don't very often have to do anything with that, but you do have to, if anybody wants to build within the airport zoning part of it, you have to go through that procedure. Housing Trust Fund. I'm the supervisor for the housing official, code enforcement. I do the comp plan. I deal with the U.S. Census. So I'm just telling you, I don't think you're going to get somebody in here.
sure, and I
with
appreciate that, Pam, and definitely I appreciate everything that you do. And can you remind me again how long you've been down here at City Hall?
32 years.
32 years.
Mhm.
That's a lot of accumulated wisdom. Somebody coming in fresh might excel to that point within a couple of years, but starting off, they're not going to be able to do all that, just being realistic.
Further discussion? There's a motion on the floor, second, to eliminate, on number 6, to eliminate that, or to reduce that by $10,000. Roll call vote.
Marshall,
Aye.
Walker,
Aye.
Mahoney,
Aye.
Matlick,
Aye.
Dade, Andrews, Van Berkom,
Aye.
Bryant,
Aye.
Greenwald,
Aye.
motion passes.
Motion passes.
Well, this is good direction, but if we can't hire at that thing, at that price, what do we do? Great River Regional Waste, the manager up there left and went to at another job, and they couldn't find anybody outside of Lee County that applied for that job, and it pays very well because they didn't want to come to Lee County.
With the changes that have been made so far, I've got us at roughly 15,000 away from what the goal number was that we had in mind. Jim, your thoughts on getting to that last 15 or what?
Nope. I mean, I don't, I gave out a list and
Make a motion to eliminate item number 5.
Need a second? Matt would, Matt moved to eliminate Annette's position upon retirement, saves 8,000 in the general fund. Need a second? Hearing none, motion dies.
I'll make a motion to reclassify item number 5 to the Public Works budget outside of the general fund.
Looking for a second.
Could you say that again? We didn't hear that down here.
I make a motion to reclassify the job description for Annette's position, item number 5, so that the $8,000 in the general fund would no longer fall as a general fund billing. It would then be part of Public Works billing.
Second.
so do you want to do away with duties for planning and zoning and recreation that she does?
Well, I base that
Those
off
are the
of-
general fund items. I
Can
mean,
make
that's the point you're.
Can I make a suggestion on this before you do that? I think you can still reduce a portion of that $8,000 out of the general fund, because when we rehire somebody, I don't think we're gonna offer them, say, $50,000 for that job. It's gonna be more.
These
mean,
don't
that's-
cover transition costs. You can do this stuff, but what you're doing, and part of with like Pam's job, we're gonna hold it open because the only way we can fill it with 10,000 less budgeted is to hold it open for a period of time after she's gone and then hopefully fill it. That's the same thing that will happen with Annette. There are buyout costs at the end of employment that have to be paid out still in those line items. So even though you fill a position at a lower pay, you still have other costs that are stranded. They have to still get covered. So as you do this, these decisions are fine, but you're going to leave positions vacant for a period of time. That's the only way we can fill them, even if at a lower salary, and not go over budget. So go ahead with that, Brian, but
Well,
that's the
I mean, just-
consequence of what
it's
you're
just
talking
a
about.
suggestion.
I know, but that's part of what we're already, I mean, the budget's built
So
with
I mean,
that kind of
this-
in mind.
When I read the sheets that were handed out, the $8,000 and $88,000 aren't real numbers. That's not the actual amount we're saving next year if you were to cut those positions.
Well, I guess the other side of the coin is that we're not budgeting for those buyouts either. So we're not really looking at this realistically anyway.
That's what I mean. I mean, it's budget, I mean, Celeste
I mean,
budgets
that-
for the
that
buyouts
88
on
That
retirements.
88,000 for Pam should probably say 108,000, since we got to do a buyout and we got to go through all that crap and then we got to hire somebody in early.
Well, you're going to bring somebody in at a lower pay. I mean, so if I look at what a director a community development director, there's one down in Missouri that's open right now, 86 to 125,000. If I look at a city planner job, which is coming right out of college, it's somebody who reports to a development director. Altoona's hiring one for 60 to 85,000. Johnson County's hiring an assistant planner who is like 2 levels down for 70 to 94,000 for a hiring range. And what you're getting, you're not going to get somebody who's gone through college for planning, which is fine. We'll have to bring somebody in who doesn't have a planning background to fill this position. I mean, it's just the consequence of what we're doing here as for where we're setting budget amounts at. Just know that is where it will end up. When these budgets were done, yeah, we didn't budget for excess pay for these things, but part of that is we don't know exactly how much excess pay there's going to be, but we know there's going to be some, but we know we're going to bring someone in at a lower pay. It's going to be pretty close to a wash. But when you reduce the amount that's budgeted, now that wash is kind of gone. Now we have to cover it in another way. And so we can do that, but know that there's going to be probably some gaps in employment that goes on with those positions.
Can you speak to reclassifying that position? And then you mentioned P&Z functions and recreation functions. That's the motion that's on the table.
So right now, with Annette's, if you want to have that position truly be for Public Works, and that's how we're funding it, it should be for Public Works. We code part of it over. We acknowledge that she's doing a lot of the planning department stuff, probably more than the 17%.
She does issue plumbing permits, excavation permits.
There's a lot of your contracts.
Yeah, if somebody comes in for and demo permits, then she can do those. That's what she actually does for our
I'd say if you're going to do that though, move the salary over. It should be the job should follow where the pay is coming from. It is my point, and we can do that. But that then means that as we move forward, Pam's replacement is going to have to pick up some of those duties for what we're using Annette's position for, or we should be if we're trying to track what we're spending our money on.
So I'm going out on a limb here saying this, but we're a community of 9,900 and we have a city clerk and a deputy city clerk. Now, I'm not saying that that the person that's our deputy city clerk should be let go. I would never say that. But at this time, when we're trying to save money, her part of the clerking job that the deputy city clerk does could go to the city clerk, and the part of she pays the bills, but we have someone else that sends out the bills. Why can't the bills be sent out and paid by the same person? And the person that's the deputy city clerk move into Annette's job when Annette leaves. That way we let nobody go and we save a whole salary in the long run.
I agree with Kathy too. After 25 years, I mean, it's going to be hard to fill that one. And Amy's been around. There's a list of just what you repeated, what she does, and a lot more than, these girls behind you, they do one heck of a job. I'll tell you that. I got to visit with them this week. They proposed to take a day off every 2 weeks, no pay. And so with the 4 that I visited with, is around $72,000. That's just 4 of them. I haven't got to the other, to offer, it should be offered all the way down to Casey, to just the rest of them. Just 4 of them, day off every 2 weeks. It's $72,000.
I don't know, but the discussion that went around City Hall is there was one person that was willing to do that, and the other one could not afford to do that.
It should be up to each one, yeah.
But when you're looking at so you've got the city clerk's department, which has 2 employees, and that's finance, which is completely different from a public works administrative and planning administrative person, in my opinion, and I don't know who you pile on. So the deputy city clerk does accounts payable, and then Shannon does accounts receivable, which are 2 different things
And
too.
really should be split between 2 different.
And then Shannon also does payroll.
But that was always in the same department till it was split by Aaron. Always in the same department.
I wouldn't hear.
And
them,
you
so.
need to remember that Aaron's the one that left us the barge in the SID Center.
And that was with Amy and Shannon picking up a position 2 years ago. That we already saved $77,000 out of that one. Yeah, some of them might not want a day off every 2 weeks.
And
That's their option.
And truthfully, with Annette's job, eliminating Annette's job, it's going to save $8,000, right, in this part? And so somebody's going to have to pick all that up anyway. So are you going to hire somebody, or are you going to put it off on other people too again? So I'm just offering that as a suggestion. I do not want anybody to lose their job. I do not want anybody to not have a job, but I don't see that, I mean, I don't know that it couldn't work. Even if it could even work maybe if there was a part-time person hired instead of a full-time at the end, and that's not going to happen till October anyway.
I think if you lose the administrative position between my department and Pam's, there's just going to be a lot of stuff that won't get done, even if you try to break up duties. I mean, Annette keeps a running spreadsheet for sanitation that every call she takes, she logs. Every trash can that's missing, she logs. Every address that's for, she logs. And I don't know who would do that. I mean, plus all the sewer calls that she gets. She takes care of all the burial stuff that we get from like Harrison Monument. She takes care of for the cemetery. She does I think all this is on that list, but she does basically all the administrative stuff for the cemetery. She does administrative stuff for the parks, including renting the park buildings out and keeping track of the deposits and returning the deposits. And it's just a lot of stuff that I don't know who you would divide that up between without losing a lot of customer services at City Hall. And you'd lose somebody up front too, which is, she's kind of the face of where people walk in and get services at City Hall. And there's days where she's on the phone for 3.5 hours a day with different people.
So what you, all them that you mentioned, she does the yearly and the monthly, and she does the July 1st budget,
Yeah, she does all the reports.
and she saves all these, when the permits are taken in,
Yep.
excuse me, when they're done, they're all filed.
I think if you seriously are considering eliminating positions, it might need to be further discussion within like the personnel committee as opposed to going in circles at a council meeting, but
I think if we just have to have a long discussion about how you broke up duties, and you would have to know that level of service is going to go down. And I mean, it's not like that's not the case in other departments.
I just think that we're losing two valuable people, 33 years and 25 years, and to put them in there in a month's time or 2 months' time, I mean, you're just asking for trouble down the road.
I guess just so we're all on the same page too, to clarify, the motion was to move this expense into the public works, which gets it out of the general fund, which would reduce $8,000 out of the general fund. But Jim has mentioned that you're going to move it out of the general fund, you ought to be eliminating the job functions that go along with the general
I mean,
fund.
you should move those to somebody who's paid at least partially out of the general fund, which maybe you feel that Amy's duties should have that put onto, or have those duties added to Amy, and then transfer some of Amy's to someone else. And maybe that's how you do it. That's just my commentary on it. It's still regardless, it's a vote that's on the table and you can do it. I don't think it's good budgeting. You're paying for someone from one, it's similar to what we're doing in the bridge fund. We're paying for 2 1/3 people out of the bridge fund for a function that uses about, on total, a half-time to maybe a full-time person.
I'd say it's closer to one full-time person, but yeah.
So it's crippling the bridge fund.
Well, and
Any of these decisions, it puts off a problem that we have in the general fund, and it corrects it for this year, but it cripples these other funds.
Well, and plus, we haven't raised the rates since 2016. That's kind of crippled it too.
Well, that's the bridge fund. Let's stick to this one. So, and I'm just trying to clarify, if we move that out of there, your administrator's saying it's not a good thing to.
But we'll budget that way. It's just.
I suppose it
Are
kind
we going to
of,
eliminate the job functions?
well, the motion wasn't to change the job function, so I think that forces us to look into what are the job descriptions with the new hire then. And, because Kathy mentioned maybe redistributing some duties. So I guess it forces that conversation to happen if this portion of it would pass. Because Jim is correct. In the long run, you should be paid out of the department you're doing your work for. That's your responsibility.
So everybody knows what we're talking about.
Okay, so with, if you spread that job out between other people, they're operating with 12 right now, with them 2 gone, 10. And that's what 2 of the 10 are already spread out to another job.
But what we're talking about is not eliminating those 2. So we would continue to operate with 12. We just have 2 new hires, which we're going to have to, Pam's leaving no matter what we decide. So we're going to have to fill her position. So that's kind of a wash. So I'm trying to come up with ways where that number stays at 12 as opposed to going down to 11. So that number stays at 10 instead of going down to 9.
Further discussion? Motion on the floor to transfer $8,000 credited to Annette's position into the public works. Roll call vote, Celeste.
Marshall,
Yay.
Walker,
Nay.
Mahoney,
No.
Matlick,
Nay.
Dade, Andrews, Van Berkom,
Nay.
Bryant,
Nay.
Greenwald.
No.
Motion failed.
Motion fails.
Make a motion to eliminate item 2.
Eliminate city support for the fireworks, $5,000. Need a second?
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded. Further discussion?
If this is approved, this doesn't necessarily mean there's no fireworks show on 4th of July, right? This isn't their entire funding, right? We still have options to maybe get lesser of a show or maybe modify it in a way that we
Yeah.
can.
This is
Maybe,
basically half of the,
We still can reach out to the public through the water
I
bill.
think that you,
Right, okay. So just so anybody watching knows, this does not necessarily mean no fireworks.
we would end up trying to partner with another entity to do fireworks. That would be the goal.
Preferably at Rand Park still, or?
I don't know. I'll bring this to we'll talk about it at the Park and Rec meetings, and you're welcome to come and give input to them and then see where they want to move forward with what they want to do with the cellar. They plan the whole thing and kind
I
of
don't
take care of
like
running it.
that this is where we're at, but in my experience, the fireworks show has been a little lackluster the last couple of years in the park anyway. And if it was maybe a little bit shorter and just more all at once, it'd be more exciting. That's just my opinion. So I can support this, I guess.
Further discussion? Celeste, you want to call the roll?
Marshall,
Yay. Yay.
Walker,
Aye.
Mahoney,
Aye.
Matlick,
Aye.
Dade, Andrews, Van Berkom,
Aye.
Bryant,
Nay.
Greenwald,
Aye.
7-2, motion passes.
Motion passes. Still
10-4.
right at 10,000. 10-4 is what Jim says.
Make a motion to take items 11, 13, and 14 and reduce each of them by 5,000.
Give me the numbers again, Matt.
11, 13, and 14.
Thought you skipped one there, so.
We need to reduce about 10,000, and that motion would reduce 15, which is okay, but
Did you catch that, Celeste?
5,000 each.
So the motion is to reduce additional contract mowing by 5,000, to reduce the airport service by 5,000, and to reduce tourism in Main Street by 5,000. Need a second.
Didn't we
Moved to
reduce,
second in discussion.
tourism quite a bit?
Yes, all three of those items have already had large reductions. We've already cut 35,000 to mowing, 10 to the airport, and 75,000 from tourism Main Street combined.
Discussion? Hearing none?
before you vote on that, that motion included 5 out of tourism Main Street. Which one? There would need to be a clarification, or is it split down the middle between those two entities because they are two separate entities?
Split it, 2,500 each.
I think you'd want to have an amendment to that motion that would reflect that.
propose an amendment to that motion, or to that motion, to split it between tourism and Main Street, 2,500 each.
Is there a second to the amendment? You seconded the original motion.
Well, I don't know if we can do this. Can we go take the, 5,000 off the tourism and leave Main Street out of it?
You can, but you would need a motion to do that.
Can we still do that at this point, or?
If his motion, he has a motion to split it between the two. If it dies for lack of a second, another motion suggesting what you are saying could be offered in its place. If a second is done, we would vote on with it split between the two.
We don't have a second on the 2,500, the equal split. Let's finish this here, and then we'll get to that. So we need a second to split it.
Second.
Hearing none, you made the motion.
It's late.
That's okay.
So can you read the motion and then?
Well, we don't have any, do you want to, we're trying to clarify that Main Street tourism. So did you want to make a motion, Devin, to split it differently?
I'd make a motion to split just the 5,000 coming off, tourism, nothing on.
Second.
Now you have an amendment to vote on. Now it would make sense to have.
Yeah. Kirk?
We've already had a pretty drastic cut tourism.
I just have one question. If we're trying to get rid of 10,000, why are we taking more from tourism to take it to 15,000?
What's that?
Why are we taking more from, we're trying to get rid of $10,000 to balance the budget. But you're suggesting taking off 15 and taking the extra 5 from tourism.
I just recommended an even split between all the categories
Why?
to make necessary cuts, and we're kind of running out of options.
You were down to the 10,000 that we needed. We didn't need to add that 5 more thousand on it.
Just motion for an even split between the three.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're 5,000 off of tourism now, and we've got a motion and a second to amend the original motion. So we need to vote on the amendment. So what you're voting on right now, the original amendment was to take 5 out of number 11, number 13, and number 14. And now we've got an amendment to kind of clarify on number 14 that all 5,000 would be out of tourism and not Main Street. So let's take a roll call just on this is just on the amendment. It would end up all being out of tourism.
Marshall?
Yes.
Walker?
Nay.
Mahoney?
Yes.
Matlick?
Aye.
Dade? Andrews? Van Berkom?
Aye.
Bryant?
Nay.
Greenwald?
Nay.
5-4, motion passes.
I would offer a suggestion. I mean, if you pass this the way you have it, you'll have a $5,000 surplus that you could have a motion to turn 5,000 back to something if you chose to. Or you could have an amendment to have the split be like 3,400 to each of those 3 items instead of 5,000.
All right, so what we do have here is a motion to reduce by 5,000 additional contract mowing, the airport service by 5,000, and tourism by 5,000. That's the motion that we've got and has been amended to that. So everybody clear on what we're doing? If we monkey around with it anymore, we can make it a little more confusing.
I will second the motion on the floor.
It's already been
It's already been
seconded.
seconded. Okay, excellent. It's,
All right. Everybody's clear? Roll call, Celeste.
Marshall,
Yeah.
Walker,
Aye.
Mahoney,
No.
Matlick,
Aye.
Dade, Andrews, Van Berkom,
Aye.
Bryant,
Nay.
Greenwald,
Nay.
5-4, motion passes.
I would like to make a motion that we take that $5,000 that we, from tourism and divide it evenly amongst the 4 nonprofit organizations, the Rand Park Pavilion, Historical Preservation, the Arts and the Fine Arts. 5,000, that would be $1,250 for each of those volunteer organizations.
So your motion is to restore $1,250 to each of the Rand Park Pavilion, the Historic Preservation, and the Fine Arts Council.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes, sir.
So we're looking for a second. Looking for a second.
Sure the historic.
There were 3, weren't there?
3.
Oh, was there 4?
Fine arts.
I missed one.
Yeah, you missed art center.
The Arts.
I got the Fine Arts, I got Rand Park, and I got the Historic Preservation. Oh, the Arts Center. Gotcha.
Actually,
Thank you. Okay. It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion on that?
Does historic preservation need it?
We technically are supposed to be providing money to them.
But wasn't it in kind as well was allowable?
And which is going to be hard to track. I figured it'd end up being part of Pam's budget. This would give them actually $1,250 to do some of that stuff with, which would be an assistance, but
Thank you for that clarification.
Further discussion? We'll call the roll, Celeste.
Marshall,
Yay.
Walker,
Aye.
Mahoney,
Aye.
Matlick,
Aye.
Dade, Andrews, Van Berkom,
Aye.
Bryant,
Aye.
Greenwald,
Aye.
motion passes.
Motion passed. That gets you pretty close to
Close enough.
whatever that number is.
close enough.
Is there any other action? Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn. We're adjourned.
We didn't have to. The police or fire, right?
Pam's salary is the one that's.
Oh, this ain't that.
I think, what? It was gonna be hard. It was gonna be hard.
I know, that's why I kept going over. Yeah, that was good.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good night. You too.